Okay, stop the presses, forget everything else, because Robert Pattinson has tested positive for COVID. It's the end of the world.
Oh no.
The hit Pattinson star. Hey, Robert, if you're listening to this, I hope you get well soon. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Midlight Crisis, a real podcast hosted by three grown adults revisiting books from our teens, and it's totally cool. I am Sophie, and my YA title for today is The Lizards of Wizards and Cell Phones.
I really want to play a lizard folk wizard in D&D.
Oh my god, I just don't even know where to start.
Okay.
Is it like the wizards have gone missing and their familiars, the lizards, have to find them?
Using the
thinking.
GPS on their cell phones.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'd read the hell out of that book.
Oh my god, yeah. So I had this CD when I was a kid called Rockin' Reptiles, and there was a song on it called Lizards Are Wizards.
Are you saying that I stole their IP with my book?
Well,
maybe.
The lizards are not the wizards.
That's a great point. Yeah.
They're the lizards of the wizards.
Yeah. It's completely different.
I'm Sam, and my YA title of today is A Friend of Necromancy and Stars.
Oh, wow. That sounds like a really fun book. Kind of wholesome.
That sounds like a real book.
Necromancy.
Yeah. Necromancy, I'm sure it can be wholesome.
So the reason I was drawn to this one was there's a book I found out about. It's called Gideon or something, and it's about, the way it was sold to me is that it's necromancers in space. And I was like, I need to read this book immediately.
Yeah.
So if you have read Gideon, tell us if A Friend of Necromancy and Stars is an acceptable alternative title.
Yeah, I think it's called Gideon in the Ninth or something, or I don't know, but it looks really cool.
I mean, I'm on board.
Sounds interesting, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And I'm Hannah, and my randomly generated book title of today is My Revelation of Truth and Eagles. Which sounds very American, which I am not, but maybe they would like that book down there in the southern part of North America.
The middleist part of North America.
Middle North America.
Yeah.
Except for Alaska, which is norther than us.
Just a Canada sandwich. Anyway. Yeah, so I think we're on chapter 3 of Twilight and Midnight Sun this week. If you guys want to tell me what we read this week.
Sophie, did you
read it? I definitely read it. And the only reason I can prove it is because I would not be able to talk about it at all if I hadn't. Because I don't remember anything.
On that note, yeah, because we both had no idea what was coming next based off the chapter titles. But spoiler, Edward didn't watch Bella Sleep yet, so
oh, man.
Didn't happen in Twilight, but it did snow, so that's exciting. And Charlie has a good dad moment, and he put chains on Bella's truck. He woke up really early and did that, so I thought that was kind of sweet. Yeah. And then we got the infamous parking lot crash scene where Edward saves the day. And I won't lie to both of you, I actually remembered this only being in the movie, and I forgot it was in the book. And I was like, oh, so that was a surprise for me. So anyways, that happens. They go to the hospital. Bella tries to confront Edward, but he doesn't tell her anything. And then the chapter ends with Bella having her first dream of Edward.
Oh, dang. Wait, does it?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Wait, did I really finish the chapter? Hold on.
I'm pretty sure that was the... Wait, let me find it.
Yeah, no, it was the first night she dreamed of Edward Cullen.
Yeah.
Sophie.
Okay, keep talking so I can check if I read it.
And then I won't lie, while I was reading this, I think I texted both of you, but I went full Edward trash again, and I was like, oh yeah, this is why I love this. And sorry, not sorry, I love Edward Cullen, bye!
Yeah, before we started recording, you were talking about how you like hot, morally ambiguous bad boys. So, Sam, how are we feeling?
Very attacked right now. No.
Yes.
I have a type. I have a thing. There's probably a reason I'm still single. And it's because there's no real man that compares to these fictional characters. And I will scream I'm a feminist my whole life and everything, but you hit me with a dark, mysterious, fictional character who comes in and saves the day with a car crash like that, I'm gonna swoon. Bye.
I don't know why you need us to attack you, honestly.
Yeah.
If anyone was wondering, I did figure it out. The one line is on the next page of the ebook. So I finished the chapter, I thought, but I did miss the one line about Drew Me Red Edward. I know everyone was worried. Anyway, let's talk about Midnight Sun.
Chapter sort of splits the uprates on what we'd hope we get from it in our last episode of the podcast, and that we see more interactions of Edward with the Cullen family, particularly between him and Carlisle, but it doesn't really cover any ground that you don't see in Twilight. So, we're getting somewhere. The chapter opens with Edward and Carlisle hunting together, which touches on that relationship a little bit, and carries into Edward once again making the decision to leave Forks for Bella's physical safety and Edward's moral safety. He decides to have one last hurrah at school, presumably to satisfy his love-struck curiosity, and then the truck scene happens. But there are a few interesting quick scenes of Alice's visions, which I really liked, including a bit of a foreshadow for the iconic meadow scene. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that in the, I guess, original timeline, Bella was actually supposed to get smooshed and killed by the van.
Yeah.
Which was a little darker than I was expecting.
Yeah.
This early on in Midnight Sun. Yeah, Edward's perspective of the van incident and the hospital scenes are more or less what you'd expect. He's kind of panicky, acting on instinct and then doing damage control. But what I thought was the most interesting thing from this, I can't say the name of this book because it sounds too much like Midlight, from Midnight Sun, is that Edward reveals that Charlie actually has the same mental quirk as Bella, where Edward can't quite read his thoughts. He can only read, in Charlie's case, the emotional cadence, not the words behind them. And when I read that, I said, "Oh shit," out loud, because I was so surprised. Is that something that came up in the original saga at all? Do you remember, Sam?
No, I was also surprised by it, and I thought it was
me too.
Kind of quirk, because I was like, oh, then not that vampires can reproduce well. No, I don't think it happened, because I was also surprised, and then my science brain was like, oh, genetics. So if Charlie turned, would his power be the same but diluted?
Yeah, I went in the same direction. I think that's my favorite part of this entire book so far.
Yeah, that was so cool.
I think at some point we're gonna have to have a conversation about vampire superpowers, because they're fun, but
yeah,
we'll save that for another time.
Yeah. I almost wonder if the excitement of it was that we know what's going to happen in this book, right? We know what happens in Midnight Sun because we know what happens in Twilight, and up until this point it's been oh, this is cool because you're getting another perspective, but it was almost oh, is she going to introduce new things?
Yeah, it was the first bit of new information, really.
Yeah, because that's pretty cool, if so.
That's the content that I am here for.
Yes. I wanted to mention my favorite part of Midnight Sun, which just made me laugh really hard, was in the Twilight book when Bella sees Carlisle for the first time. She's like, holy shit, he's hot. And in Midnight Sun, Edward sees that reaction and goes, oh man, she definitely knows we're related. And that's what he's worried about, that she saw the similarities between them. I was like, that's not what she's thinking. Sorry. She's thinking about how hot your dad is. Which I just thought was very wholesome on Edward's part.
Oh, man.
It just made me laugh really hard.
I mean, he's a 100-year-old virgin.
What?
Is that true? I don't remember.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't remember either.
Well, because he's insistent on waiting until marriage, right?
That's what I thought.
God, I don't remember any of these things.
Sophie, how could you not remember the 117-year-old vampire who wants to wait until marriage before having sex?
It's because Sophie was always Team Jacob. She didn't care about Edward.
Yeah. I was team the other guy. The irony that I couldn't remember who the other. When we first talked about this podcast, I was like, oh yeah, it's all about Team Edward and Team the other guy. Even though I was on Team the other guy, I couldn't remember who it was. Anyway, did anyone else have any thoughts about these chapters?
I really liked that this chapter of Twilight very succinctly summarizes Bella as an introvert, as like a fellow introvert. I really liked that she pointed out that being alone does not necessarily mean that you're lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then there was an interesting dichotomy in the Midnight Sun chapter where like Edward is surrounded by his family. So he's not alone, but he still feels lonely because they're all lovebirds and he's seventh wheeling, which I can relate to also.
Yeah.
But I really like the contrast between alone and lonely in these two chapters. And I don't know, I really related to both of those. It was really nice.
Yeah. I didn't really pick up on it, which is shocking. I should have, but it's a really good point. You're absolutely right.
I feel like a lot of books, like fantasy in particular, where things are not always set in like a contemporary world, it seems like it would be hell for me as an introvert. There's a lot of like, I don't know, in fantasy books you get a lot of people like sharing tents and being in like big groups and traveling in groups and always being together with people and never having that time to themselves.
Yeah.
Which is something that I notice a lot in books, is how hellish a lot of these scenarios seem.
Oh,
as
man.
someone who like very much needs time alone and was like totally fine for like the first month of the pandemic not leaving my house because that's kind of what I do anyway.
Yeah.
But this is, you know, one of those, well, for me, one of those rare YA novels where the protagonist is like, I like to be by myself. I am happy that I am here by myself. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, for me, it was like a bit jarring. I don't really, like, I can't grasp Bella's character. I know that's like always like the tiredest, like everyone's talking about it all the time. But there are just parts of it that just seem like random. Like for me, it always comes back down to like she's different. She's not like everyone else at the school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It just, especially the part where she was, you know, this new kid at a new school who like hadn't fit in this old school. And then suddenly like everyone here is trying to be her friend. And all she cares about is Edward Cullen.
Yeah.
Who was like an ass to her at the beginning. Like,
weird priorities for sure.
Like, I'm like, you have a bunch of people who you don't know are kind of being shitty. We see that they're being shitty through Edward in Midnight Sun, but it just seems so, it seems like a tool to make her obsess over Edward that doesn't really take into account like what an actual teen would be doing.
Yes.
Which would be like, yes, I'm so excited that all these people want to be my friend.
Oh, yeah. I would have eaten that.
Right? Me too.
Yeah. Because I actually highlighted the whole paragraph when I was reading this, and it was exactly about like how she moved from Phoenix and like why no one really liked her because they saw her through her like awkward adolescent phase. And now all of a sudden everyone thinks she's like super, super cool or whatever because they never had to see that and she's something fresh or whatever, or like her clumsiness was seen as endearing rather than pathetic, casting me as a damsel in distress. So I don't know if I was in that position, and I went from, I'm thinking of myself in high school, like what I went to, and if I went to a school and was getting all this attention she was, I would have eaten it up.
Right.
Even though I'm very introverted as well, I I would have been like, yeah, let's be friends. Oh my God, the popular people like me. Yes, yes, yes. But I also went to a very typical cliquey high school. So my views are probably kind of biased as far as that goes. But yeah, I agree with you, Sophie. 100%.
It's just kind of strange to me. Maybe, yeah. I can understand, like, oh, it's just her. That's the way she is, right? Like, she doesn't like people paying attention to her. And it's like, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But would you really just be sitting there being like, man, I sure wish no one was paying attention to me? It's like, no, you wouldn't.
Yeah, probably not.
Your survival instincts would kick in.
Yeah, especially as a teenager when, again, maybe that's just like our views. Maybe someone will come in and say, no, like I'm like that. And hey,
Yeah.
I wish I could be, but no, I thrive off other people's attention. And I require validation all the time.
Yeah, if there are people out there who aren't hyper aware of what other people might be thinking about them all the time, let us know, because I wonder what that's like.
Yeah, please tell me, because like I live in a constant state of honestly caring way too much about what people think of me.
It's exhausting.
I really want to know what's your secret in like a non-mocking way at all.
Yeah, if you could be Edward Cullen and hear whatever, I would hate that. Anyway.
Oh my God. I would hate it.
I wanted to just bring up the fact that his whole family just talked to him via thought.
Yeah.
When I was reading it, I was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. But I'm like, what does that look like? And also, what? Why?
I thought it was really interesting that is the way that their like found family has chosen to communicate. It just seems like a really interesting way to adapt to that situation. I kind of liked seeing that. It's a little cheesy, maybe.
Yeah.
But
no, yeah, I like it. I like it especially in the situations like in the previous chapter where they were doing it like Emmett does it when he is trying to say something that should not be overheard, and then Edward responds with like fairly neutral things. But yeah, it's interesting just to do it all the time. Like, do they do that when all of them are present or when it's just one-on-one? Because then Edward's still talking. Like when he and Carlisle are hunting, it's like, oh, maybe it's to stay quiet. It's like, well, Edward's talking though out loud. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I'm interested to see how it goes in the future.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, as someone who thinks a lot about what other people think of me, this ability to read people's minds messed with my head in high school. I was so paranoid that someone would be able to hear my thoughts. Like, it freaked me out. And I would like police my own thoughts. I would try to I think I read somewhere online that people would like yell in their head suddenly to see if there were any mind readers listening, and they could like see if anybody flinched. And I'm pretty sure I did that once or twice because I have always been like a little paranoid about people watching me. Even as a kid, I used to think that there were cameras in the light fixtures. Like, I've always been really kind of a paranoid person. So the idea of someone just being able to casually overhear my every thought and me be none the wiser, like, freaked me the heck out. I was not on board with that. It's a cool like plot tool and I guess like a fun character thing that she's playing with, but like I'm not on board with the idea of anybody being able to read my mind. No, thank you.
That's so wild because I still have like moments where I'm like, oh man, if someone was reading my mind, this would be shitty. And it never occurred to me that was because of Twilight. And it 100% is.
I started before Twilight. Twilight just made it way worse.
It's like traumatized me.
Yeah, no, I hate it. I hate it.
Dang.
Anyway, who needs therapy when you have a podcast, right, guys?
Exactly. That's what we're here for.
Yup.
Also, okay, it seemed to happen very quickly from the previous episode, from the previous chapter to this chapter, that suddenly Edward is like obsessed with Bella.
Yes.
Right?
It was very fast.
Like, because in the previous
love.
Yeah, because in the previous episode it was, oh my god, chapter. What are we doing? What's happening? In the previous chapter, he was still like very much predator, being like, I have to stay away from her to protect her. And then like here, it's like hit the ground running, being like, I must protect her. Oh yeah, I could kill her, I guess. Oh yeah, she smells delicious, but like it's very second tier.
Yeah.
Very rapid progression.
Yeah. I guess he's 117, so it's fine. If he was 17, I'd be like, listen, calm down.
Yeah.
Too fast.
I was gonna say it's very on par for a 17-year-old actually to be like,
Yeah.
oh, I love you after only like 2 weeks, which is actually one of the biggest criticisms why fantasy gets, at least, is its portrayal of insta love. Yeah, I don't know. As a 100-year-old, I don't know.
Well,
yeah,
they do make a point within the series though that you stop maturing at like whatever point you are when you're turned, which is the whole issue with the immortal children, right? So
Do they?
I think it stands to reason. Yeah, I think it stands to reason that Edward, being a 17-year-old, probably still thinks like a 17-year-old, right? Like his brain wasn't fully developed when he died and got turned into this like undead sparkly golem.
True.
I never thought of that. Wow.
Yeah.
My science biology brain failed me.
But okay, but hear me out. Is this the series where there's like a kid vampire who like acts like an adult though?
Well, there's what's her name? Jane. She's 11 or 12.
Yeah.
But they also make a note that like she, even before she was turned, was like particularly weird and particularly cruel.
Okay.
And like still does. It's been a while since I read that book or saw the movies that she's in. But I think there's a point of like she gets like a sociopathic, childish enjoyment out of hurting people, right? And like after all, you're kind of old enough to know right from wrong, I'm pretty sure. I don't know anybody under the age of 22. But I think 12-year-olds like have a moral compass.
Maybe. Who could possibly say? Who would know? Not us. Interesting. That's an interesting point. I'll allow it.
Thanks.
I'm in deep thought now, just like mad at myself for not thinking of that. Because then, Edward falling in love in 2 weeks as a 17-year-old. I mean, I knew people in high school who dated each other for a week and then dumped each other, and then we're dating other people the next week.
I'm pretty sure I fell in love with someone that I never spoke to, ever.
Oh, yeah,
many times.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anyway,
so these 2 chapters are both basically just an entire chapter of Bella as the damsel in distress, right? That's so apparent. I believe it might even be outright stated that she doesn't want to be a damsel in distress, but like clearly is one. Gets saved by like the mysterious love interest with mysterious unknown superpowers.
Swoon. Sorry, I had to.
I thought that could be an interesting thing to lead into a storytelling discussion for this week about the use of tropes in storytelling, and specifically as we do within YA storytelling. I don't know about you guys, but I've picked out a great many that have occurred even in these first 3 chapters of both books. And like, the TV tropes page on the Twilight Saga is astronomical. It's humongous.
Yeah.
I mean, does it count if like you started a bunch of tropes? Because I feel like Twilight started a bunch of tropes.
Which ones would you say that Twilight started?
Listen.
Out of curiosity.
I'm not 100% sure.
I'll say
you just have a feeling?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Obviously, it existed before, but the reason we saw so many love triangles in YA after Twilight was because of Twilight. And yes, the trope existed before, but you cannot tell me that the Gale, Peeta, Katniss love triangle would have existed if it weren't for Twilight, because that love triangle did not need to exist. There's other examples. I'm pretty sure maybe Divergent had it.
Yeah.
The Mortal Instruments had it, but that got weird and incesty, so I don't like talking about it. What are the other major ones? Anyways.
I have forgotten every YA book I've ever read.
I know, that's just kind of where my head went. I was like, I know there's more. And to be honest, like, even I've read of one recently, it was like Snow Like Ash or something, and it had a love triangle in it, and I just wasn't here for it. I was so annoyed by it. So I don't know how you guys feel about the whole love triangle trope following Twilight.
They're never even triangles. They're like love angles. It's like two different people in love with the same person. At least give me person A in love with person B, in love with person C, in love with person A. Like, that's more interesting than just like, alas, I am the female protagonist and these two hot guys are fighting for my affections. Yeah, I don't remember reading much with love triangles before Twilight, so that might be a good point. We'll have to look into that later.
Yeah, I guess it's also hard because, like, we would have been coming in at Twilight new to YA at the time.
Yeah.
So it is also probably our own bias being like, Twilight invented everything. But I really do think that, like, if it didn't start tropes, it definitely reignited the next, like, decade of tropes.
Yeah. Well, the, like, sexy vampire was not really a thing in at least our generation's cultural consciousness before that. Like, there was Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was, I think, a little bit before us, or at least before me, in terms of what my parents would let me watch.
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Oh man, but guys, Spike was so hot though.
I've always meant to watch it, but I've never
watched it.
No.
It's hard to rewatch. Don't try it.
Yeah.
It's difficult the first couple episodes.
Oh dear. After Twilight, I didn't really want to read other vampire books because I was not like the other girls. So I liked Twilight, but I didn't want to like Twilight too much.
Oh, Hannah, let me tell you. I was like every single girl.
So was I. I was just a non-swear word about it.
Oh, no. I read every major vampire series that was out when we were in high school.
Oh, wow.
I read the House of Night series. I read Vampire Academy, Blue Bloods, the True Blood series, which probably shouldn't have been reading at 15, but hey, I did it anyways. All of them. Like, I loved vampires.
I've never even heard of most of those.
Vampire Academy was one of my favorites, and they ruined the movie, and I was really sad about it, because that was, after Twilight, that was like my favorite vampire series. It was really good. Yeah.
I think the only other vampire book that I read after Twilight was Hawks Harbor, which is like an older book. It's by S.E. Hinton, the same author who wrote The Outsiders, which you might remember I was very effusively praiseful of in our earlier episode. And if I'm remembering correctly, I think Hawks Harbor was the only book she did for like an adult audience, but it still had the elements of her writing that I really liked. But it was like vampire horror and then vampire redemption, but like actual horror. So I really liked that. But I don't think I read any other vampire books. I think I've read half of Dracula. I had an ebook of it that I stopped at some point.
I think the only other vampire series I've read were the Sookie Stackhouse books.
Yeah.
What's the TV show?
True Blood.
That True Blood was based off of.
I called them True Blood, but it is the Sookie Stackhouse series. Those are the ones I read too.
Yeah, they were really good books, actually.
They are.
Yeah. They're really fun.
I still have them.
The TV show is a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot.
Is that one really sexy? I got the impression that it was really sexy.
So sexy. The books are less sexy, I almost want to say.
They are. No, the books are
way less sexy.
Yeah. The show, well, because it was on HBO, and at the time, it was competing with Game of Thrones. I think True Blood was first, though.
Yeah.
And then Game of Thrones followed, I think, a few years after. And I remember I had the box set for season 1 and season 2 of True Blood, and I was watching it in my room, and my dad walked in once, and
oh man, there's no good time in that TV show.
No, it's
for
all
someone to walk in.
bad. And then my parents were just like, "What the hell are you reading, watching, da-da-da?" And I was like, "Nothing."
It's just like Twilight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True Blood had Alexander Skarsgård, if that's how you say his name. Anyway, it's unavoidable.
I love him.
Moving on.
Yeah,
we went off the rails a bit. What were we talking about? Tropes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a bit of a silly question now that we've gotten so off the deep end. But I was going to ask the two of you, and I suppose also myself, if you have off the top of your head any like favorite tropes in YA or least favorite tropes, other than the love triangle, which I think we've covered.
King Sophie, what's mine?
I don't want to talk. Oh, Sam. Listen, the only thing you need to tell Sam to get her to read a book is that it goes enemies to lovers.
Yeah.
Literally nothing else matters.
I am trash for this trope. Trash.
That explains the Kylo Ren thing.
Okay, but anyway, immediately moving on from Star Wars before you both start talking
but
about it.
Sophie, I want to talk about Star Wars.
Okay, but what's your guys' favorite tropes?
Save it for the Star Wars podcast.
Sophie knows very well what my favorite trope is. I am a sucker for it, but it has to be a good slow burn. It cannot be insta love. Like, it can't be their enemies and then the next day they're lovers. Like, no, get out. No, not okay. If it's a good, like, slow burn, well developed, like over 2-3 books even, love it. Here for it. Okay, you guys.
Wait, so what's a good example of that? If someone was looking for a recommendation, can you think of one?
Yes, the Serpent and Dove. Yeah, Serpent and Dove.
Man.
Yeah, I made Sophie read that one. That's a real good, it's like romance more than it is fantasy. So I definitely don't recommend it as a fantasy read. I recommend it as a romance. But oh my god, the slow burn in that. To Kill a Kingdom is also a YA book. It's about a siren and a siren killer. And oh my god, guys, this book was so tropey, but I loved every single second of it. And it's a standalone.
That's nice.
So I highly recommend those two. They are your classic YA enemies to lovers, and I'm here for it.
Nice.
Who wants to go next?
I think one of my favorite tropes, not necessarily just in YA, but in storytelling in general, is the found family, which I might have referenced a little bit in the prologue, but I'm like the sort of like fan fiction reader who will go and find the fan fiction that's like the two characters who aren't sisters but like become sisters, and I'm like, I want all of the content about these two people being like platonic soulmates. I want them to be best friends. I want to see them like interacting as best friends as their families, and nobody else wants that in their fan fiction, so I'm very hungry all the time.
I have a book recommendation for
Me also. Maybe we're going to recommend the same book, but I also have a book recommendation for you.
You go first, and then I'll recommend mine.
I was going to recommend the Wayfarer series. Sam and I just read it. The first book is called The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. And it's all found family. The whole thing. And it's aliens.
Oh, I do like aliens.
Anyway.
My recommendation actually wasn't that one, but that is a really good one. I really enjoyed that book. Mine was A Song Below Water, and it's about two friends, but they're like sisters. And it's kind of like their whole experience together and growing up together. And it really just goes into that whole platonic sister friendship thing. I think you'd like it.
Okay. I've added those both to my list.
I have a thing for sirens.
What?
You? I wonder why.
Oh, man. It's not as if your D&D character is a Triton or anything.
Not like she's named after a Twilight character accidentally.
You nicknamed my D&D character after the Loch Ness Monster?
This is your fault, Hannah. You're the one who did it.
It was me.
It was me the whole time.
It was me the whole time. Me Dio. That's a meme, right?
Okay, I just want to like come in with one more thing. The strong female character. And I just want to, one of my biggest annoyances with that trope is when that character can't also be girly. And it drives me nuts because I'm like, you can be tough, you can be a badass, but you can also enjoy putting on makeup and putting on a dress and looking fly as F. I'm not going to swear. Yeah, I don't know. I love when an author can develop a strong female character who isn't ridiculed for her femininity. And that's what I'm going to leave with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't appreciate the implication in that trope that the reason she's strong is that she's not feminine, right?
Exactly.
Like, that's what pisses me off about that one.
Yeah,
you can be both.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm not really either, but you could be both.
I like to think I'm both, but
yeah, you are.
Hell yeah.
I just really want to learn how to sword fight. Can someone please teach me how to sword fight? That's all I'm asking.
I bought a lightsaber, so now I need to learn how to do lightsaber tricks. We're not talking about Star Wars, but I am.
But yes, I am.
Somebody teach me how to do the Obiani spin. Okay, I'm done.
Are you done? Do you want me to just give you like 10 more minutes?
11 minutes later.
Oh, the Clone Trooper one? Because I know it wasn't the Kylo Ren thirst trap.
No, it was definitely the Clone Trooper one.
Much later.
While you guys were talking about Star Wars, I was looking up tropes to see if there were any that I fall for every time. Always will read literally every iteration of Beauty and the Beast. Every single one.
Really?
I'll read all of them. Yep. I love it. 10 out of 10. All the time. So good.
I have another one for you.
The Fire Rose, these aren't young adult novels anyway, but the Fire Rose is a very good take on this genre. It's a genre.
The genre of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Fairy tale retelling, I think, is considered a subgenre of its own.
You know what? I might as well just say fairy tale retelling because I am also on board with all of those. Right. Love it. Any of the Mercedes Lackey does like 2 series that are fairy tale retellings, and I read those books probably 100 times each, like over the course of the past 10 years.
Wow.
They're the books I go back to and like reread just for like comfort reading. When I was like in university and stuff, I couldn't read new books very much because it was just like way too much for my brain to handle. And so I would just reread books constantly, and I pretty much just reread Mercedes Lackey. There's a lot of books in this series. I haven't read them in maybe 2 or 3 years now, but they were always pretty good. Now tell me your suggestions because I'm looking for them.
I have one because I read it actually at the beginning of this year. I wasn't a huge fan of the first one, but I liked the second one a lot. But because you like the Beauty and Beast retelling, I think you'll like it. It's called A Curse So Dark and Lonely.
Follow that title structure, eh?
It's got that title, Dark and Lonely. But it is like, it's pretty cliche as far as like it's really in your face Beauty and the Beast retelling, whereas like A Court of Thorns and Roses is technically Beauty and the Beast retelling, it's not so obvious, which is I think one of the reasons I like it so much. But this one, it's good, don't get me wrong. I think I also just read it at a bad point because I read the second one 2 months ago and like was totally on board with it. So I think you would like the first one more than I did, for sure.
Okay. Interesting. A second one that I just read recently, Uprooted, I think would also be a Beauty and the Beast retelling technically, which like, I don't know if that I would 100% recommend it. I really loved the book. Had some, other concerns, but
yeah,
it was a pretty good book, and it is definitely in this trope family.
Is it?
I'm into it.
Okay, Sophie, I have a very important question for you now.
Uh-oh.
Is Twilight a Beauty and the Beast story?
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think all of the supernatural, like the normal girl and the supernatural, or the supernatural girl and the normal guy, or whatever variations thereof. I'm pretty sure that's all like comes out of the Beauty and the Beast.
Right.
It's about like he's dangerous. What are you gonna do? And then it's like, oh, he's nice at the end or whatever.
And is it usually a regular heterosexual female character and a magical or supernatural male character? Is that usually how it goes?
Yeah, I mean, like, there aren't that many options with other variations out there.
Well, even if we're just talking about, like, straight characters, in your experience, has it ever been a superpowered woman and a regular old dude? Other than Wonder Woman?
Yeah, Wonder Woman. What a good movie, you guys.
That's
anyway.
such a good movie.
Anyway, I'm going to start a different podcast where I talk about Wonder Woman. No, the only books I can think of might have like the superpowered female character and a regular male character end up like that's not how it ends up at the end.
Okay.
Like it's always like, oh, she thinks she wants this, but no, she wants the bad boy who's also supernatural, you know, like yeah. Which is lame, and I'm ready to read the reversed version.
Yeah. Yeah, if anyone has any recommendations for us, I think Hannah was saying that, let us know. Because, yeah, I feel like I need to, like, widen. And I've been really trying to make an effort of, like, widening my reading and trying to get away from, like, the characteristic heterosexual male-female. So, yeah, I don't know, I just draw to it as a heterosexual person. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I just downloaded, I'm just about to start the audiobook called This Is How You Lose the Time War. And I'm so excited. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna, anyway, I haven't listened to it yet. It's only 4 hours. Yeah.
It is?
Oh.
Yeah. It's a very short book. Apparently you have to listen to it or read it a couple times to like get the full effect, but we'll see. It's like two rival agents in a time war sending love letters to each other and they fall in love.
Yeah.
That's cute. Enemies to lovers, perhaps?
Enemies to lovers immediately.
I mean,
and they both identify as women, so I'm excited. Yeah.
One other thing I was wondering, and I don't have an answer for this, I think it's more of an opinion, but do you guys think that Twilight became popular because of its use of tropes, or because of its subversion of some tropes, or just maybe for other reasons? But do you think the fact that it does seem to be a fairly trope-heavy series had anything to do with its popularity?
I think Twilight weaponized tropes.
I agree.
Yeah, I think whether it was meant to or not, and I assume it was meant to very much, took all the most powerful tropes and combined them together, Voltron style.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's got it all, right? It's got, you know, the not like other girls, which I don't like anymore, but I was all about it as a teen.
Heck yeah.
The love triangle, you know, it's just got it all, you guys.
Yeah. What about the Chosen One? Like, do you think, because the Chosen One's a really popular trope in fantasy, I don't know, I was like just sitting here trying to think of it. I'm like, you could, I guess, argue that Bella is the chosen one.
Yeah. It bothered me, even as a kid reading books, that the protagonists and like the character that you were supposed to relate to as the reader was always special in some way. I always wanted a story about someone who's just a regular person.
Oh, I could go back to Star Wars right now!
I would rather talk about Star Wars.
Guys!
1 hour later.
No, but I think it brings up a really excellent point that, yes, there's so many times we're meant to relate to this protagonist, and so often they're special and meant to be the chosen one, that we grow up, at least I felt like this, that like, oh, I'm nothing because I don't relate to any of these characters as far as that chosen one trope goes.
Yeah. And even Bella becomes a bit of a chosen one, right? As the story goes on. She starts off very like everyman. I still am thinking of her as a non-character. She's like a self-insert character. You're supposed to be Bella.
Yeah.
But even Bella, whose entire character is she is shy and clumsy and has brown hair, becomes a superhero. So like maybe that's inspirational.
Yeah.
Or aspirational, or maybe it's just like, ah, dang it. I can't even be as exciting as Bella.
I mean, she does have that whole part in the second book where she just like is emo for until the boy comes back, which listen.
We'll get to that. I'm sure we all have plenty to say on that.
Yup. Okay. Yes. Well, does anyone remember what is going to happen next? By any chance?
Edward is going to watch her sleep. This time, for sure.
This time, for sure. Oh, we should read what the chapter titles are.
Oh, is that why she dreams about him? Because he's there?
Oh,
yeah,
no.
she wakes up and sees him. I'm pretty sure that happens.
I don't want to talk about that.
Me neither. Yeah, what
so,
are the chapter titles?
In Twilight, the chapter title is Invitations. And in the Midnight Sun book, it is Visions.
Alice content. The Alice content that I crave. Yeah. That's what I'm hoping.
Is the Invitations... I know... No, but it's too early for the date.
Wait, is that when they go to La Push, baby?
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
No.
Is that it?
Maybe.
I don't know.
It feels too early, though, because it's like...
It seemed like it was too early for this truck scene, though. It's only chapter 3.
Isn't there, like, a party?
Good point.
Or something?
I think the party is at the beach.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Isn't there, like, a thing? Oh, I don't even... Why am I even trying? Anyway, Midnight Sun is probably Alice.
Yeah.
I hope so. I love Alice.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess that it's because Edward is, like, vacillating on staying or going. And so Alice is like, oh my god, I'll die if you just keep giving me these missions.
Yeah.
Is what I think is gonna happen.
Maybe he, like, makes his decision that he's gonna stay, and Alice is like, oh shit.
Oh! Yeah, that's...
You're in love with her, actually. Maybe that's it.
Dang.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Oh, but he's definitely gonna watch her sleep.
I opened the next chapter in Midnight Sun, and I just want to read one sentence.
Okay.
Actually, 3 sentences.
Okay.
And the sentences are just like a stalker, an obsessed vampire stalker.
Oh no!
I hate it already.
He's totally watching her sleep. Okay, we got it this time. Took 2 tries. We got there.
I don't think this is going to happen, but I would really like it if literally any of the other vampires was like Edward. No.
Edward,
don't be
stop.
a creepy obsessive vampire stalker. Like, don't do it. Like, where are his mother and father in this? Shouldn't they be teaching their son how to behave?
Yeah, there are like 6 other vampires, aren't there? They should all be like, hey, this is a bad idea, going to someone's bedroom that you want to eat.
Yeah.
And Alice would 100% have had a vision of it and known he was doing it. And like, girl, you gotta watch out for your girls. Yeah. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Maybe that's how Edward, like, decided to go stare at Bella while she slept. Alice had a vision of him doing it, and he saw it because he's a creeper who can read minds, and was like, yes, excellent idea, I shall do this.
He's like, that is a good idea.
You know, now that you mention it, Alice's brain.
I'm really angry. I just got off the Edward train that I was back on. I am no longer on it anymore, because on the theme of tropes, I hate the trope where men think that they can just follow their love interest around, and it isn't creepy or stalkery at all.
Yeah,
it's creepy.
It's creepy every time.
Every time.
If you're a man, no, don't.
If you're the 2 men who listen to this podcast.
At least one of them is married, so I mean, I suppose if you're married, it's okay to watch your partner sleep. If you want to watch someone sleep, make sure you
get married first.
Make sure you get married first.
Make sure you consent in your vows.
Yeah, consent is important for all things, including standing in someone's room and watching them while they sleep and not telling them that it's happening.
So, on that note, can't wait till next time when we get to read about Edward watching Belle sleep. Oh, man. Don't. I don't want to.
I don't want it.
Yes. That wraps up our podcast about Twilight and not Star Wars.
Yeah, if you liked this chapter of Midlight Crisis in Star Wars, consider rating and reviewing us on iTunes or your podcatcher of choice, or sharing the show with a friend. You can talk to us, maybe give us book recommendations for our favorite tropes, if you have any, on social media. We are at Midlight Pod on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and all chapters of the show thus far are available on our website, midlightpod.podbean.com.
And to finish things off, Edward had some really inspiring words of wisdom, I think, throughout this chapter. And one in particular just like really resonated with 2020 and a whole. So I'm going to end with that. So in the words of Edward himself, "Oh, for the love of all that is holy, will the catastrophes never end?"
Oh my god.
God.
Thank you. I'll see myself out. As the Twilight series features characters from the Quileute tribe of La Push, Washington, we will be going into further discussion on Indigenous and Native American representation in later episodes. But for now, if you would like to learn more about the tribe, you can check out QuileuteNation.org and mthg.org to donate to the relocation efforts of their tribal school.